You wake up one morning and something feels off. The sky looks the same. The sun still rises in its familiar arc, and the birds still sing, but the world has a tension in it, as if gravity itself is holding its breath. Far beyond the moon, something has entered our solar system. Something massive, silent, and invisible. It does not emit light. It does not reflect light. And yet, it pulls. Gently at first, but unmistakably. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Feel free to post your location and your local time in the comments. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Somewhere beyond Neptune, a ghost has arrived. A black hole, possibly no larger than a city, but with a mass more than 10 times that of our Sun, drifts into the neighborhood. It's what's known as a rogue black hole. These wanderers are not tethered to any galaxy, and they travel the vast emptiness between stars in total silence. This one has found us. At first, there's no panic, because there's no detection. Not yet. Our telescopes are not designed to see the invisible, but then instruments begin picking up discrepancies. Planetary orbits slightly altered. Distant comets behaving oddly. Something heavy has upset the solar system's delicate gravitational ballet. Astronomers at observatories across the globe begin to compare notes. A pattern emerges. The outer planets are being nudged, not by each other and not by anything visible. It's not long before suspicions converge. We are being visited by a black hole, and it's coming closer. But you wouldn't notice any of this. Not in the way you notice a storm rolling in or a moonlit tide. The change is more subtle. Gravity's pull becomes just a little less familiar. Satellites need minor adjustments more often. GPS clocks begin to desynchronize by milliseconds. Little things, easy to dismiss until they begin stacking up. Black holes, as strange as they are, obey the same laws of gravity as everything else. The pull it exerts grows stronger the closer it gets. And Earth, orbiting the Sun at just the right distance for life, now finds itself subject to a second gravitational influence. A competing pull from the dark wanderer. You wouldn't see the black hole in the sky, but its presence would start bending the light from distant stars behind it. A distortion called gravitational lensing. One night, you might glance up and see a star that seems to flicker strangely, stretching into a tiny arc or ring. That's not an illusion. That's space-time itself being warped. If you could look at this black hole face to face without being destroyed, you'd see something strange. A circle of total darkness surrounded by a glowing halo of twisted starlight. It would appear to shimmer and ripple, even in stillness. That glow isn't from the black hole itself. It's from the light of stars far behind it, bent around the void by gravity. The Earth doesn't fall into the black hole right away. The change is slow and it's quiet. It's the quiet that's most unsettling. There are no sirens for this kind of disaster. No smoke, no explosions, just numbers. Numbers that astronomers obsess over. Trajectories, velocities, deviations from expected paths. And then one day, the numbers say what everyone fears. The black hole is not just passing through. It is on a collision course. In the grand scale of cosmic time, we are given notice. Years, perhaps even decades. But in the human timeline, that is little comfort. Panic does not come immediately. It builds, and so do the effects. You might begin to feel just slightly heavier, Nothing extreme, just a sense that climbing stairs takes more effort, that your body aches more easily. This isn't imagined. The black hole's gravity is adding its influence to the sun's, ever so gently, increasing the gravitational stress on Earth. Tides become exaggerated. The moon and sun already tug at Earth's oceans, but now, a third player is stretching the seas. Shorelines shift, flood zones grow, coastal cities begin building taller walls, and still, the black hole approaches. The sun, so central to our existence, begins to share the sky with something unseen. Astronomers can now model its trajectory with disturbing precision. They can tell us the day Earth will leave its stable orbit and begin a long spiral toward the black hole's event horizon. They can also tell us what that will feel like, how it will distort time, stretch the oceans, bend light. Governments prepare in their own ways. Some whisper of evacuation missions, though there's nowhere to go. Others fund deep underground shelters, as if depth could protect against the fundamental breakdown of physics itself. And still, for most people, life goes on. They wake up, make breakfast, go to work, argue with neighbors, laugh with friends. Because what else can they do? The end has begun, but it starts so quietly, with a tiny deviation in gravity, a whisper in the numbers, the first subtle pull of something impossibly heavy, impossibly close, and absolutely indifferent. As Earth begins to drift ever so slightly from its orbit around the sun, the long goodbye has already started. And in the stillness of space, the black hole waits, silent, patient, absolute. There comes a moment, not with a bang, not even with a whimper, when Earth's orbit is no longer stable. The sun, our life giver, has held us for 4.5 billion years. Gravity, the invisible thread, kept our world spinning in a perfect, delicate loop. But now, a new force tugs at us. It's subtle, but relentless. The invisible gravity of a rogue black hole begins to rewrite our path. At first, the shift in Earth's orbit seems negligible, barely a fraction of a degree, but over months, then years, it compounds. Orbital mechanics is unforgiving. What begins as a tiny curve becomes a long, slow slide. Astronomers announce it formally now. Not just a possible trajectory, but a certainty. Earth is no longer orbiting the sun in the same way. We are being pulled by a second master. The concept hits the public with icy dread. No escape velocity. Normally, Earth's speed around the sun balances the sun's gravitational pull perfectly. That's what an orbit is. Falling around something forever. But now, Earth's motion is being subtly stolen. Bit by bit, the black hole is eating away at our orbital speed. In physics terms, the balance is broken. The black hole doesn't even need to come very close to start this process. Its sheer mass does the work. As Earth inches closer to its influence, we start to notice changes that are no longer theoretical. Daylight patterns shift ever so slightly. Seasons begin to creep out of sync. The sun rises a few seconds early, then a few minutes. Global calendars start to diverge. It's not just our orbit that's changing. Our speed through space is too. We are now on a spiraling trajectory, being redirected like a marble sucked into a drain. Earth's motion is no longer a neat ellipse around the sun. It's a looping, chaotic dance between two titans, the sun and the black hole. And make no mistake, the black hole is winning. Humanity begins to understand what it means to be caught between two gravitational wells. The sun pulls one way, the black hole pulls another. Earth begins to fall out of its warm comfort zone, the habitable zone. Temperatures shift ever so slightly. Crops that once bloomed in April now delay until May. Migratory birds miss their ancient cues. Whales sing different songs in unfamiliar waters. Satellites must adjust constantly now, burning fuel just to stay in position. Their internal gyroscopes struggle to keep orientation. GPS devices lose accuracy, and airplanes must rely on old-school manual backups more often. Some lose track entirely. In schools, children learn about escape velocity, not just as a science term, but as a grim fact. Earth no longer possesses it. Our planet is now like a ball rolling too slowly across a hilltop. It can't stay balanced. We are drifting, slowly, unstoppably, toward the black hole's gravitational well. In space agencies around the globe, teams gather around screens, watching live simulations. Supercomputers churn through equations, calculating Earth's future second by second. There is no good news, no planetary slingshot to safety, no hidden moon to save us. Escape is no longer an option. And yet, the world continues. People go to concerts, fall in love, argue about politics, drink coffee in the morning, because that's what we do when we're powerless. We live. The skies still shine blue. The clouds still drift. But above them, invisible currents of gravity twist tighter. The moon begins to drift too. Earth's satellite, long our tidal partner, is caught in the same influence. Tidal patterns grow more extreme. Waves crash harder against the coasts. Lunar eclipses no longer follow their predictable timing. The ancient harmony between Earth and Moon is being broken. And then comes the moment when space telescopes finally catch the black hole's silhouette. Not directly, but through the distortion it causes. Starlight bends around it. A perfect ring of smeared light, a gravitational mirage called an Einstein ring, becomes visible. It's breathtaking, terrifying, beautiful. Across the internet, the image goes viral. People call it the Eye of Death. Others nickname it the Great Hunger. Artists paint it in swirling golds and reds. Poets write verses about it. Children dream of it. But astronomers don't dream. They calculate. And the numbers grow worse. The black hole is now close enough that its gravity is not just influencing Earth. It's actively capturing us. We are entering a capture orbit, a long, spiraling ellipse that will bring us closer and closer until one day we cross the threshold where escape becomes impossible. By now, planetary engineers have confirmed it. No rocket, no amount of energy can break Earth free. We are moving slower in relation to the Sun, faster toward the black hole. Even nuclear propulsion on a planetary scale wouldn't be enough. What does that feel like? If you stood outside and stretched your arms, you might not notice anything at first. But over time, astronauts aboard the International Space Station begin to feel a strange pull. Their orbital patterns no longer make sense. They are drifting too, pulled slightly off course. Mission control compensates, but fuel reserves begin to dwindle. There's only so much they can do. Back on Earth, animals sense something deeper. Whales beach themselves more often. Migratory birds get lost. Deep sea creatures rise to the surface, confused by tidal forces that now fluctuate unpredictably. And the strangest thing of all, time begins to act funny. Not enough for you to notice yet, but scientists with atomic clocks see it. In labs around the world, precision timekeeping falls out of sync, not because of error, but because time itself is bending. This is the earliest fingerprint of what's to come. A prelude to a deeper truth, that space and time are not separate. They are woven together, and the black hole is pulling at the threads. So Earth continues its slow drift, not tumbling in terror, not falling apart, but surrendering, gently, inexorably, to a gravity far stronger than our own. We no longer orbit the sun. We orbit something darker. The first time humanity truly sees it, the world holds its breath. It doesn't look like the monsters of science fiction. No swirling vortex or crackling storm. In fact, it looks almost calm. A perfect circle of blackness surrounded by a soft halo of warped starlight. Like someone cut a hole out of the sky and stitched the edges with fire. The rogue black hole has finally revealed itself. To the naked eye, it's still invisible, but powerful telescopes, radio, optical, infrared, have now pieced together its location and form. What we see is the result of countless photons, bent around an object so dense that light itself cannot escape. The glow we witness is not from the black hole, but from the warping of everything behind it. Scientists measure its mass with stunning precision. 10 solar masses. That means it's 10 times heavier than our sun, but compressed into a space no bigger than a small city. In theory, you could walk across it in an afternoon, if you could survive, which you cannot. They give it a name, Mara, after the ancient word for death, illusion, or temptation, depending on the culture. Appropriate for something that destroys not with violence, but with silence. Mara is drifting toward the inner solar system, not with fury, but with grace. It does not rage, it does not glow, it simply consumes. And now it consumes attention. News stations show the Einstein ring, the circular mirage of light, captured in crystal clarity. It pulses with an eerie stillness, distant stars smeared around it like brushstrokes. Children ask if it's looking at them. Adults lie awake at night, imagining what lies beyond that ring. But what is a black hole really? At its heart lies the singularity, a point of infinite density where the laws of physics as we know them collapse. Time, space, matter, all reduced to a realm of pure curvature. The event horizon, often mistaken as a surface, is simply a boundary. Once crossed, escape is impossible. Not because of walls or traps, but because space itself is being pulled inward faster than anything can flee. And now, Mara's event horizon has begun to dominate the sky in telescopes. Earth remains millions of kilometers away, but the scale is deceptive. A black hole's reach is far longer than its size. Gravity, after all, has no true limit. As Mara draws nearer, other planets begin to feel its influence. Jupiter's moons slip ever so slightly in their orbits. Saturn's rings shimmer with tidal strain. The Kuiper Belt, home to icy remnants and ancient rocks, begins to collapse inward like scattered leaves in a whirlpool. Earth, meanwhile, has entered what astronomers call a distorted trajectory. We no longer orbit cleanly. Each revolution dips closer toward Mara. Simulations predict our path, a slow spiral ending in total capture within a decade. The sun seems unaware, shining brightly, giving light as always. But Earth is already cheating on it. We've begun our transition, shifting from solar orbit to Mara's gravitational domain. Public reaction divides. Some people choose denial. They throw parties, call it a hoax, dismiss the math. Others fall into quiet awe. Churches fill, meditation centers overflow. A strange calm settles over parts of the world, like the hush before a great snowfall. But scientists, they are not calm. They understand what this means. Mara is not just a massive object. It is a machine that rewrites reality. As we drift closer, our planet's very nature begins to warp. Space is no longer flat. It curves beneath us, imperceptibly at first, but inevitably. Imagine rolling a marble across a table. Now imagine that table has a deep dimple in the middle. The marble spirals inward, not because it wants to, but because the surface itself slopes. That's what gravity is in Einstein's universe. And Mara is the deepest dimple we've ever encountered. The closer we get, the more pronounced that curvature becomes. Astronomers begin using new terminology, not kilometers, not meters, but Schwarzschild radii. That's the radius of the event horizon. For Mara, it's about 30 kilometers. Cross that distance from the center, and nothing comes back. The danger isn't just in the distance, though. It's in how time and space behave near that boundary. The closer you are to the black hole, the slower time moves for you, relative to everything else. Time dilation, once a quirky thought experiment, becomes real. Space stations positioned nearer to Mara begin reporting time differences. A minute on the station now passes slightly slower than on Earth. The deeper you go, the greater the lag. Near the event horizon, a second could stretch into years for an outside observer. This is not theory anymore. This is measurable. And here's the terrifying implication. If Earth drifts too close, time will slow down for us. While to us, everything feels normal, the universe will watch us crawl. Our final days may stretch infinitely long from the outside, but for us, they will feel swift and sudden. As Mara approaches, the sky begins to change. Not visibly yet, but astronomers notice it first. Stars behind the black hole begin to shimmer and swirl, their positions subtly altered. The Milky Way's Great Band appears warped in photos, like it's being funneled into a vortex. Eventually, this warping becomes visible even to the amateur stargazer. The night sky seems wrong, stretched in places, bent in others. The constellations lose their shape. The black hole has revealed itself, not through sound, not through light, but by reshaping the very fabric of what we see. And it will only get stranger from here. Time is no longer what it used to be. It still ticks forward on clocks. The sun still rises and sets. But deep beneath the rhythm of ordinary life, something is changing. Our relationship to time itself is beginning to slip. The rogue black hole, Mara, is now visibly affecting the passage of time across different parts of our solar system. For the first time, satellite data from Earth, the Moon, and nearby spacecraft all disagree, not by mechanical error, but because time itself is flowing at slightly different rates for each one. This is no science fiction. This is relativity in real time. To understand what's happening, we have to imagine time not as a steady beat, but as a flexible fabric, interwoven with space. Einstein called it space-time, and massive objects, like stars and planets, cause it to bend. But black holes shatter it. The stronger the gravity near an object, the more it slows down time. This is called gravitational time dilation. The closer you are to Mara, the slower your seconds become, compared to someone farther away. And Earth is now close enough for this effect to become measurable. Deep space probes like Voyager 1 and 2, still out near the edge of the solar system, send back signals that arrive just a little early, as if Earth is falling behind. Atomic clocks on Earth must be constantly recalibrated. Even the timing of pulses from distant neutron stars, once used to mark the steady ticking of cosmic time, now appear inconsistent when measured from our shifting world. You wouldn't feel it in your body. You wouldn't notice time flowing any differently. But the planet as a whole is entering a zone where time bends under the weight of Mara's gravity. Imagine you're standing on a hill, and your friend is standing deep in a valley. From your perspective, your friend's watch ticks slower. To your friend, you're the one ticking faster. Now stretch that across millions of kilometers, and instead of hills and valleys, you have curves in space-time, and it gets even stranger. GPS satellites, which rely on accurate timekeeping to determine your location, begin failing. Their orbits, caught between Earth's gravity and Mara's influence, drift. Their internal clocks tick just a few billionths of a second slower than expected. But that's enough to throw off coordinates by kilometers. Navigation systems worldwide become unreliable. Air travel reroutes, shipping delays ripple through the economy. But the deeper consequence is psychological. We're used to the idea that time is constant, unchangeable. A second is always a second. But now, science must explain to the world, it isn't. Time is not fixed. And as Earth falls deeper into Mara's well, that truth becomes unavoidable. Scientists start issuing strange warnings. Time experiments need to be conducted in controlled gravitational zones. Communications with astronauts in orbit now come with a slight lag, not from distance, but from distortion. It's as if voices climb uphill through space-time to reach us. And with time, distortion comes another, even more surreal phenomenon: gravitational redshift. As light climbs out of a gravity well, it loses energy. This means the light from Earth, as it escapes toward deep space, is now stretching, its wavelength growing longer, redder. It's not visible to the eye yet, but it's measurable, and from a great enough distance, Earth itself would begin to appear, faded, redder, slower. If you were watching Earth from outside this influence, you'd see a planet moving in slow motion. Traffic would crawl. Days would take longer to pass. Storm clouds would swirl like honey in water. And eventually, you wouldn't see change at all. Earth would seem frozen. But for those of us still here, nothing feels different. Yet, to us, a second still feels like a second. We wake up, we eat breakfast, we work, we sleep. But outside, the universe watches us through a lens of slowing time. It's a strange duality, feeling normal while knowing everything is not. Meanwhile, Mara looms larger in the calculations. Astronomers publish new estimates every week, each one a little more grim. The point at which Earth will fall irreversibly into the black hole's orbit, called orbital lock-in, is approaching fast. At that point, Earth will no longer spiral inward eventually. It must spiral inward. No force will be able to push us out. No rocket, no gravitational assist, no miracle. Once orbital lock-in occurs, Earth's fate will be mathematically sealed. You might wonder, what if we tried to escape before that? The problem is scale. The energy required to push Earth out of Mara's grip would be more than our species has ever generated, by orders of magnitude. It would be like trying to stop a planet-sized boulder rolling downhill with a feather. And there's nowhere to go. Even if we launched every spacecraft, colonized every moon, they would only delay the inevitable. The black hole's reach will grow as we fall deeper in. Its influence stretches not just through space, but across time. In quiet science labs, people begin to ask deep questions. If time slows enough, would we feel pain forever? Would the planet freeze in its final moment, trapped just outside the event horizon? Can a species think its way through time, even if it cannot escape it? Religious leaders and philosophers weigh in. Debates ignite. Some believe this is the end of linear time. Others believe it's a doorway to a new form of being. If time stops, one writer says, perhaps we become eternal. But the numbers are clear. Earth's seconds are ticking slower than they used to, and Mara is not slowing down. It continues to drift forward. Not like a predator pouncing, but like an inevitability, like dusk swallowing a field. The distortion of time is not a warning bell. It is the beginning of the end. The oceans move first. not with a great wave or a single towering tsunami, but with a slow, eerie stretching. Tidal forces, once the gentle rhythm of Earth's dance with the moon, are now pulled into something far more powerful. The gravity of the rogue black hole, Mara, is beginning to shape our planet's very body. Tidal forces happen when gravity pulls more strongly on one part of an object than another. It's why the moon causes ocean tides. The side of Earth facing the moon gets pulled a little harder than the far side, stretching the oceans into a subtle bulge. But now, a gravitational force thousands of times more intense than the moon's is taking hold. And the effects are no longer subtle. Sea levels start to rise, not just from ice melt, but from gravitational lift. The oceans elongate along the line that points toward Mara. Beaches recede. Harbors flood at irregular intervals. Entire shorelines seem to breathe, expanding and contracting in rhythms no longer tied to the moon. Scientists call it gravitational resonance, the moment when multiple tidal sources overlap and amplify each other. Earth now experiences this with the sun, the moon, and Mara all pulling in different directions, and the result is catastrophic imbalance. In low-lying nations, water surges over levees that once held firm. In polar regions, ice sheets begin to tear, not just melt. From the strain of the stretching planet, cracks appear in frozen lakes. Rivers reverse flow in some regions, pushed by tides no longer tethered to natural cycles. And it's not just water. The very crust of Earth begins to feel it too. Tidal forces don't only act on oceans, they act on the planet itself. Earth's rocky shell flexes, bulges, and strains. Fault lines groan under pressure. Seismic activity increases around the globe. Earthquakes spike in frequency, not just near known faults, but in places long thought stable. Deep underground, the planet's molten mantle churns with new energy. The Earth's core, under increasing stress, begins to shift. Volcanoes awaken. Geysers explode in places where they haven't in centuries. The ground breathes, like a chest under strain. People on the surface start to feel it, not just in the quakes, but in a sense of imbalance. Structures that once stood firm now sway slightly. Buildings creak. Suspension bridges hum in new, unsettling tones. Even skyscrapers must be reinforced, as their foundations experience millimeter-level changes, just enough to cause hairline fractures. Meanwhile, the atmosphere responds in its own chaotic way. With the oceans and crust in motion, Earth's rotation begins to subtly wobble. This changes the Coriolis effect, the invisible force that drives weather patterns and wind currents. Jet streams twist unpredictably. Storms appear in places that should be calm. Entire weather systems begin to lose their historic patterns. Climate, which once changed over decades or centuries, now shifts month by month. Rainforests experience sudden droughts. Deserts flood. Hurricanes form in unseasonal regions. Cyclones loop unpredictably, trapped by the ever-changing shape of Earth's gravitational field. Weather maps, once trusted, now change daily. And through it all, scientists try to model what's coming next. But nature is no longer predictable. The rules are shifting. Earth is being reshaped, not by slow geological processes, but by a cosmic tide no planet is built to withstand. Some begin to refer to it as space-time strain, a term usually reserved for gravitational wave detectors. But now, Earth itself is the instrument. The entire planet hums with low-frequency vibrations as the black hole's presence warps space around it. Seismologists detect strange, rhythmic pulses, not from the crust, but from the very structure of Earth's orbit as it stretches. Some believe the planet is singing its final song, the way a star vibrates before collapse. And yet, the surface world continues to function, imperfectly, but stubbornly. Cities adapt. Emergency services are overrun, but not defeated. People learn to live with unpredictability. Coastal regions evacuate. Inland populations double. Shipping moves by air where seas are too unstable. New agricultural zones emerge in unexpected places. Still, the toll grows. Economies destabilize. Insurance becomes irrelevant. Livelihoods vanish with the rising tides. But in humanity's strange resilience, some people thrive in the chaos. Innovations emerge. Floating farms, earthquake-resistant pods, artificial islands anchored with magnetic levitation to ride the gravitational tides. But no one forgets why this is happening. Mara's dark circle now shows up in the night sky, not visible to the eye, but obvious in what's missing. A part of the starscape is now subtly wrong, a ring of sky where starlight flickers and bends. The constellations appear warped, as if reflected in disturbed water. Children draw it. Artists paint it. The world becomes obsessed with its slow, inescapable pull. Religious interpretations grow. Some see Mara as divine punishment. Others call it a cosmic birth canal. Still others treat it as a test, a moment of planetary reckoning. Temples, churches, mosques, and meditation centers remain filled with voices asking questions that science cannot answer. And the scientists, they've stopped asking whether Earth can escape. Now they ask how much longer Earth has before it breaks, because the tidal forces are rising. And Earth, though vast, is not invincible. It creaks, it bends, it stretches like dough pulled at both ends. But it does not break, yet. It starts as a faint shimmer in the sky. At first, no one notices it. Not the casual stargazer, not even the backyard astronomer. But the observatories do. The ones tracking stars with laser precision. The ones measuring the shape of light. A curve, a bend, a twist in the starlight. And then it becomes unmistakable. The light around Earth is changing. The sun, our familiar, life-giving star, no longer looks quite right. It still rises and sets, but now it flickers, ever so slightly. The edges of its disk ripple like a coin dropped in water. Its light passes through distorted space-time, bent by Mara's overwhelming gravitational pull. And so, light itself begins to fail. You see, gravity doesn't just pull on matter, it pulls on light. And black holes, well, black holes are gravity at its most extreme. As Earth drifts closer to Mara, the space around us warps. The paths that light used to travel, clean, straight lines, are now curves, loops, spirals. Photons, the tiny particles of light, start arriving late. Sunsets linger too long. Stars twinkle in bizarre colors. Some stars disappear from the sky entirely, their light bent away before it can reach us. Others appear duplicated, mirrored across the horizon. This is gravitational lensing, a bizarre, beautiful distortion of the universe. Imagine the sky as a mirror dipped in heat, wavy, blurred, untrustworthy. Daylight begins to shift. It's still bright, but the quality of the light changes. It's a strange, cold glow. Shadows become sharper, longer. Sometimes they fall in odd directions, cast by light that's taken a curved path to reach Earth's surface. You might stand under a tree and see its shadow curve upward. You might watch your own reflection ripple in a straight mirror. Plants respond first. Their leaves no longer tilt toward the sun. They seem confused, unsure where the true source of light is. Photosynthesis slows in some species. Greenhouses must be reprogrammed with artificial light cycles to mimic what nature no longer provides. Animals grow restless. Birds fly in odd formations, unable to navigate by stars. Sea turtles, which use moonlight to find their way to sea, hatch into total confusion. Some never make it. Others wander in circles. And then, the blue sky begins to fade. That brilliant cerulean we took for granted each day. It grows pale. The atmosphere is scattering sunlight differently now. The bending of light makes blue wavelengths, normally scattered wide, narrow into columns. The sky begins to take on a dusty, whitish-grey hue. In some regions, the sky turns greenish. In others, it looks bruised purple near sunset. Then comes the weirdest part. The shadows start glowing, not brightly, just faintly, as if light is curling around objects and gathering where it shouldn't be. Streetlights cast halos that move without wind. The moon shines with an off-white brilliance, sometimes too bright, sometimes strangely dull. You might see the same moon twice in the same sky. One real, one warped by space-time. You check your clock. It doesn't match your neighbor's. This isn't just a lighting issue. Time itself is twisting now. And it's not just a philosophical idea, it's measurable. Atomic clocks in different places now tick at different rates. A clock at sea level counts seconds slightly faster than one in a mountaintop observatory. Satellites orbiting Earth report desynchronization with each pass. It's not a software glitch, it's relativity. Einstein's grand truth unraveling across the globe. As Earth edges deeper into Mara's gravitational well, time begins to stretch. Not metaphorically, literally. If you stood on a hilltop and looked down, you'd be watching people live life just a little faster than you. Not enough to notice by eye, but enough to change how systems function. GPS begins to fail. Banking networks go haywire. Coordinated traffic lights fall out of rhythm. Pilots and engineers scramble to recode devices that depend on accurate timing. Scientists design new synchronization protocols. They call it gravitational time compensation, a patchwork fix for a world where seconds are no longer equal. But no matter how much tech is adjusted, one thing remains constant. The light is dying. Photons trying to leave Earth's surface are now climbing uphill through distorted space-time. It's like trying to run through syrup. Some make it, some don't. And those that do lose energy. They shift to lower frequencies, redder light, duller light, infrared. Some light is redshifted so much that it's no longer visible. Astronomers call it cosmic fog. But it's not a fog of vapor, it's a fog of gravity. And then there's the black hole itself. You still can't see it, but its presence in the sky is obvious. A patch of stars disappears. At night you stare at it, an absence where something should be. Around its edge, you see a warped halo of light. This is the accretion ring. A fiery glow of matter pulled into orbit around the hole but not yet consumed. It glows in high-energy light. Gamma rays, X-rays. Nothing your eyes can see, but your skin feels it. Radiation exposure increases in bursts. Satellites in orbit begin to fry. Earth's magnetic field shifts as the planet's position in space warps. The auroras, those beautiful northern lights, now appear over places like Florida, Nigeria, and Argentina. They swirl in unfamiliar colors. They dance to the tune of a dying sky. People wear protective glasses in daylight. Sunrise no longer means safety. Schools close not for snow, but for radiation weather. People begin living indoors, shuttered homes, UV-blocking windows. Cities relight themselves with artificial suns. A new kind of architecture emerges, buildings designed to block cosmic rays and shield human eyes from the distorted glare of space. And above all this, Earth continues its slow spiral inward. In the old days, night followed day. Now, it's just a long blur of distorted light, and the creeping understanding that the universe is no longer playing by our rules. The sun still shines, but the path between it and Earth is no longer straight. It is twisted, warped, broken, and so is the light. And now, you look up, but the sky no longer looks back. The stars, the ancient storytellers of the night, have gone quiet. You used to trace constellations with your fingers: Orion's belt, the Big Dipper, Scorpio curling across the south. But those shapes have broken apart, bent, smeared across the heavens like spilled ink. This is no trick of the atmosphere. This is space-time itself, folding under Mara's weight. You are now inside the warping. Earth is still orbiting, still turning, still carrying its cargo of oceans, trees, and lives. But everything feels slightly tilted, not physically, emotionally, mentally. Like the laws that once governed reality have taken a coffee break, and the backup laws weren't briefed on the job. This is the Event Horizon's approach, but not Mara's yet. Mara is still out there, immense, quiet, and cold. Earth hasn't crossed its point of no return, not yet. But the edge of Mara's sphere of influence, the space where even light begins to behave differently, is now grazing our solar system. The first thing that vanishes is the moon. Not literally, it's still there, orbiting as usual. But its light no longer behaves as expected. On some nights, the moon appears twice its normal size. On others, it shrinks to a glowing dot. Some nights, it glows in weird hues: bronze, then green, then a pale blue-white that casts eerie shadows. The tides follow suit. They've always been tied to the moon's gravity. But now, Earth's orbit through distorted space throws everything out of rhythm. Some coastlines see 3 high tides a day, others none at all. Tsunami sensors blink warnings without earthquakes to blame. Harbors empty overnight. Coral reefs bleach from the chaos. Then the sky does something no one expected. It folds. Not dramatically, just for a moment. A ripple, like a crease in paper. You see a familiar star, but there are 2 of it. Then 4, then none. The star's light took multiple paths to reach you. Gravity distorted those paths, bent them around Mara in long looping curves, and now all of them arrive at once. A star that's 100 light years away suddenly appears next to your local weather satellite. You're not imagining things. Astronomical distances no longer make sense. Space has become an optical illusion. Light from the past, the future, and the warped present overlaps like stacked photos. And not just starlight, radio signals, microwave background radiation, and gamma-ray bursts all bend around the black hole and land on your doorstep. It's like tuning every station on a radio at once. The static becomes a roar. Astronomers stop making predictions. They start writing poetry. Because how else do you explain seeing 2 Earths rise in the sky? That's not science. That's metaphor breaking into real life. And yet, there it is. One Earth, whole and trembling, spins below your feet. And another, a ghostly copy, appears briefly on the horizon. Light that left your planet months ago, bent by Mara and slung back like a boomerang. It's a mirror, a warning, a time-delayed echo of what you were. You are now a traveler in a temporal funhouse where cause and effect begin to blur. People begin reporting déjà vu more frequently. Others swear they've seen their future or their past in dreams or in the sky. Some scientists believe them, because now particles are misbehaving. Neutrinos, normally ghost-like and silent, are spiking in detection arrays. Quantum entanglement events seem to stretch across vast distances. One experiment shows a photon flipping its spin before the trigger is even activated. Cause after effect. Effect before cause. The arrow of time, once steady and stern, now wobbles. And as time shakes loose from its grip on reality, people change. Not physically, but in how they think. You used to plan in years, retirement, children, old age. Now you plan in weeks, then in days, then in moments. Time is still flowing forward on Earth, but Mara is slowing it from the outside. Time dilation becomes measurable between different elevations, different speeds, different continents. It is no longer just theory. It is law. Some mountain monasteries report time stretching longer in prayer. Pilots flying high above sea level find their clocks running behind. Submarines report the opposite. Each human now experiences a personal version of time. At first, it breaks systems. Banking collapses, transportation falters, communication lags. But then, we adapt. We become temporal nomads, living in an age where every second is both precious and unstable. We carry new clocks, new calendars, based on Earth's distorted path through Mara's gravitational field. Time no longer measures life. It becomes a side effect of where and how you exist. You've entered a world where calendars are useless, where light is unreliable, where space folds and time frays. And still, somehow, life goes on. Children grow up without ever seeing a stable sky. New species of nocturnal animals emerge. Plants evolve to drink radiation as well as light. Cities are built underground, in tunnels shielded from the sky. And humans tell stories of the old sky, of the days before Mara came, of the time when stars stood still and shadows behaved. And they teach their children not with maps or textbooks, but with stories of curves, of how light bends, of how time drips, of how we danced with a black hole and didn't fall in. Not yet, but we are close. And the next step, the next section, it's no longer just science, it's survival. Imagine waking up to a morning that never arrives. The clock says 7 a.m., but the sun refuses to rise. You step outside, but the sky is dim, a deep, dusky grey that doesn't change. Shadows no longer move. Birds don't sing. Roosters crow half-heartedly, confused. Somewhere behind the clouds and chaos, the sun should be shining. It still exists. You know this. But light, like everything else, has been bent, delayed, redirected, and scrambled. This is the beginning of the atmospheric collapse. Earth's atmosphere has always danced to the rhythm of the sun. Warm here, cold there, winds rising and falling like breath. But now, that rhythm is broken. Mara's gravity has tugged at the planet's rotation, and with it, the air itself. The jet stream, that high-speed ribbon of wind that snakes across the globe, disintegrates into chaos. It swirls the wrong way, then stops, then reverses again. Tornadoes appear in places they shouldn't, spinning lazily, like dizzy children lost in a playground made of clouds. Then, without warning, the weather turns violent. Some parts of the world freeze solid under purple blizzards that come from nowhere. Other regions swelter under a ceaseless glow, not from the sun, but from refracted starlight warped back at Earth through Mara's lens. It's no longer predictable. The poles start to melt, then refreeze, then melt again in jagged cycles that ruin everything from agriculture to animal migration. The sky becomes an enemy. Storms pile on storms. Lightning behaves strangely. It moves slowly, as if trying to decide where to strike. Some bolts stretch from cloud to cloud, never touching the ground, glowing like electric vines for hours. Then they vanish, taking the thunder with them. The oceans try to follow the moon, but Mara's presence has stretched Earth's orbit, distorted the gravitational dance. Tides become meaningless. Entire shorelines vanish. Fishermen sail out and never return. Not because they sink, but because their boats are stranded in the wrong timeline. GPS fails. Satellites lose sync. Communication drops not due to interference, but because the signals can't agree on what now means. And under it all, the ground begins to groan. This isn't just atmosphere, it's Earth itself. Tectonic plates shift out of rhythm. Volcanoes erupt in patterns never seen before. Magma pulses in waves, matching Mara's gravitational heartbeat. Some scientists call it a planetary arrhythmia. Earth's core is being squeezed and released, over and over, like a slow-motion CPR from the cosmos. The crust begins to crack. Not everywhere. Not yet. But it starts with hairline fractures in remote regions, deserts, mountain ranges, the ocean floor. Then sinkholes appear in cities. Entire blocks vanish into the earth without warning. Tremors ripple through continents like stress fractures in glass. And then, one day, Earth screams. Not a metaphor, a real sound, a deep, groaning thunder from inside the planet, recorded in seismic sensors across the globe. A sound that should not exist. A low-frequency roar that shakes buildings, topples bridges, and makes people collapse in the streets, clutching their heads. The sound comes not from the crust or the core, but from the warping of space itself inside Earth's mass. The planet is being twisted, stretched, compressed, pulled in conflicting directions. Like a piece of fruit, slowly crushed between fingers you cannot see. You look to the sky for answers, but it's not a sky anymore. It's a funnel, a whirlpool of stars and darkness. Mara's gravity lens has widened so far that the cosmos itself seems to spiral down toward a single point. You see galaxies that should not be visible, quasars from the ancient universe, glowing bright, smeared across the horizon like streaks of forgotten fire. It's beautiful, it's terrifying, and it's pulling harder now. The Earth's orbit has decayed, not from friction, but from energy debt. Every second we spend this close to Mara costs us momentum. Like a marble circling a drain, Earth is losing altitude. Our days have grown longer. Time, twisted by gravity, slows further. The sun's path across the sky has changed. It no longer rises in the east and sets in the west. Instead, it does loops, figure eights. Sometimes it lingers in one spot for hours, casting strange shadows that never move. And then it disappears for a week. Farmers give up. Migratory birds circle endlessly, confused. Photosynthesis begins to fail. Earth's food web collapses quietly. It starts at the bottom. Tiny phytoplankton in the oceans begin to die. They're sensitive to light cycles, and without predictable sunlight, they go into shock. That means no food for krill, which means no food for fish, which means the whales vanish, which means the oceans fall silent. On land, it's the same. Plants bloom at the wrong times. Pollinators die. Crops wither not from drought or flood, but confusion. They don't know what season it is anymore, and neither do we. Clocks are wrong. Calendars are useless. And somewhere behind it all, Mara waits. A presence more than an object. The black hole isn't just a shadow in the sky anymore. It's a hole in reality itself, and Earth is falling toward it faster every day. People start to build bunkers, not to escape, but to endure. Not underground cities, not survival colonies, just quiet places. Places where the wind can't reach, where time passes more slowly, where children can grow maybe. Because no one knows how long we have left. Maybe a year, maybe a day. Maybe we already passed the point of no return, and we simply haven't felt it yet. Because Mara's gravity has twisted the timeline so deeply that we're living in the echo of survival. But until the end, we breathe, we listen, we scream, and then, like the wind, we go quiet. By now, Earth is no longer a planet in orbit. It is a ship without an anchor, slowly sliding down the curved fabric of space, spiraling ever inward toward Mara, the silent titan that never stops pulling. You look at the stars. They're not where they used to be. Constellations have bent and twisted. Orion's belt now curves like a scythe. The Big Dipper points nowhere. And worst of all, the North Star has moved. Navigators, astronomers, even hikers are left adrift. The sky no longer offers direction. You can't even trust which way is up, because up is a relative term now. Gravity, which once held you firmly on the Earth's surface, has begun to flicker. Subtly at first. You jump and land a little softer. You fall, and it feels delayed. Like the air beneath you is thicker. It's not just imagination. Scientists confirm it. Earth's gravity is weakening. Why? Because the very shape of the Earth is changing. Mara's gravity doesn't just pull in one direction, it stretches. The planet is being reshaped by tidal forces on a planetary scale. Earth is becoming slightly oblong, like a droplet of water falling in slow motion. The core is still hot, still spinning, but it too is off balance. The magnetic field begins to wobble. Compasses spin uselessly. Auroras appear at the equator. Beautiful, yes, but unnatural. They flash in colors we've never seen before. Some say they hear whispers in the sky when the lights pass overhead. Of course, that's impossible, isn't it? Air travel is banned. Satellites begin falling out of orbit. Not all at once, but in eerie waves. Some burn up in the atmosphere. Others vanish, slingshotted away by gravity distortions. Communication becomes increasingly local. Cities grow quiet, like islands in a fog. And then, in the oceans, the true horror begins. The tidal unmooring. Earth's tides were once a clock, steady, predictable, loyal to the moon. But now, they respond to a new master. Mara. Massive waves roll across oceans with no pattern. Not tsunamis, but permanent high tides. Shorelines vanish, drawn outward or pushed deep inland. Salt water flows where it never belonged, across highways into fields, through subway tunnels. Coastal cities are evacuated, but the water follows. It comes not in floods, but in tilts, the entire sea slowly leaning sideways. Cargo ships tip as the horizon curves unnaturally. Ocean currents stall. The great conveyor belt of the Atlantic slows, then reverses. Warm water no longer reaches Europe. Ice creeps down. Greenland vanishes beneath a snowstorm that will not end. In the southern hemisphere, the opposite. Australia burns. South America's rainforests shrivel beneath a sun that refuses to set. Equatorial regions grow uninhabitable. UV radiation leaks through an atmosphere stretched thin. Skin burns faster. Crops collapse. Animal migrations become erratic. Some birds never land. Some whales beach themselves in places where no oceans remain. The planet's axis, once a slow and steady wobble, is now in free fall. Earth is tumbling, like a top running out of spin. There is no longer a reliable north or south. Climate zones migrate by hundreds of kilometers in days. Deserts bloom, forests dry up, glaciers flow sideways. People call this the unmooring, a poetic term whispered across ham radios and carved into the walls of bunkers. It means more than the loss of tides. It means the loss of rhythm, of season, of certainty. Calendars are blank now. No one knows when the next solstice will come, if it comes at all. The moon remains, watching silently, but even its orbit is unstable. Some nights it swells to enormous size, looming like a broken god. Other nights it vanishes, flickering out like a failed bulb. Tides follow its madness, but they are torn between two masters now, the moon and Mara, and then comes the drift. Whole continents begin to slide, not quickly, not dramatically, but geologically. The plates of Earth's crust begin to behave strangely, moving sideways at alarming rates. Mountains rise from nowhere. Valleys collapse. Sinkholes open like yawning mouths. Cities vanish into the earth. No warning, just silence. Even worse, some come back. Weeks later, twisted, misshapen, as if time itself stuttered and tried to redraw the world from memory. Streets loop in on themselves. Buildings grow backward. Light moves the wrong way. Survivors speak in riddles. Some no longer speak at all. Seismologists stop publishing reports, not because they're gone, but because the earthquakes never stop. The whole world is trembling. A low, persistent vibration, felt in bones more than ears, and dogs howl at nothing. Children are born already crying, not from fear, but from the tremor in their cells. The human body was not meant to live on a world that pulses like this. The great unmooring is not an event, it is a condition. A new law of physics, whispered by Mara into the bedrock of the earth. Everything that was still is now drifting. Continents, oceans, time, language, memory. Some communities give up entirely on global timekeeping. Instead, they create new calendars based on local light patterns or on Mara's movement across the sky. One tribe on the African coast calls this era the time between tides. A South American commune calls it the softening of the world. A group in northern Canada simply calls it the float, because that's what Earth feels like now. Untethered, still beautiful, still blue, but floating. Drowsy, off balance, a planet in a slow-motion fall toward a future no one can map. And Mara watches, a black eye in the sky, a wound in space, a secret too large to understand. But it is not done yet, because unmooring is only the beginning. Next comes the tearing. At first you think it's just another earthquake. You've felt 1,000 of them by now, some soft as a heartbeat, others brutal as thunder. But this one is different. It doesn't come with a rumble. It comes with a sound like paper being ripped, stretched across the sky. It begins in the far distance, like thunder behind the mountains. But then it keeps going, and going. And then the sky itself changes. You look up and see something that should not be possible. A long, shimmering crack in the sky. It's not lightning. It's not a cloud. It's a jagged, vertical split, running from the upper atmosphere all the way down to the horizon, like someone tried to unzip the heavens. Behind it, you don't see space. You don't see stars. You see nothing. No color. No darkness. Just absence, as if the fabric of reality was peeled back, and behind it was the void Mara came from. You're not the only one who sees it. All across Earth, the cracks begin to form. They appear in the air like mirages made of glass. Some are small, no longer than a tree. Others stretch across cities. The lucky ones appear over oceans. The unlucky ones rip through the middle of towns, splitting roads, slicing through buildings like a wire through butter. Some cracks are harmless, others are hungry. Objects near them begin to bend, as if gravity is pointing sideways. You see a parked car start to slide. A bird mid-flight veers off course. A tree leans unnaturally, roots clawing the soil like fingers. And then, gone. Swallowed by the crack, vanishing into nothingness. No noise, no fire, just deleted. People call them rift lines. Scientists call them gravitational shear fractures, space itself bending under stress. Mara's pull is no longer just directional. It's starting to twist. The entire space-time fabric of Earth is being warped, folded, stretched, and torn like cloth in a storm. And Earth, that once solid marble, begins to flake. You see it first in the deserts. Huge slabs of ground start to levitate, rising slowly into the air. Chunks of sand, stone, even whole hills, torn from the earth like puzzle pieces that no longer fit. They hover, tremble, and then drift upward, toward Mara, like offerings to a god that never speaks. Some never come back. Others fall again, days later, crashing into the sea, into cities, into mountains that didn't exist before. These are called drop zones. No one survives in them. Not because of fire or water, but because reality misbehaves inside them. Clocks melt, light curves. Voices echo before they're spoken. One rescue drone captures a scene near a rift line. A deer walking forward, but its shadow walking backward. Another sees rain falling upward. Not fast, just wrong. There is no scientific consensus anymore. The internet has fractured. Most global networks are gone. Knowledge has become regional. Each surviving zone invents its own rules, its own explanations. Some worship Mara, some curse it, some pretend it isn't real. But no one can ignore the tearing, because now it's not just physical. People begin to lose memories, not from trauma or illness, but gravity. Something about Mara's pull is affecting the mind. Not just dreams or thoughts, but the architecture of memory. One day, you wake up and forget your brother's name. You remember his face, his voice, his laugh, but his name is missing, like a word stolen from a page. Another day, it's the capital of your country. Then your own birthday. Some people start writing names on walls. Others tattoo them on their skin. A new alphabet emerges. Simplified, pictographic, resilient to forgetting. Children are taught to draw their stories, not speak them. Whole villages communicate through murals, because Mara doesn't just tear space, it tears time. Clocks break. Digital or analog, it doesn't matter. They tick wrong, faster, slower. Sometimes they tick backward. You begin to notice that days feel longer or shorter. Some sunrises happen twice. Some nights refuse to end. People speak of a phenomenon called the time loop dip, where for a few minutes, everything rewinds. You put down a cup, and it's back in your hand. You hear your name called twice. You feel déjà vu, not as a feeling, but as proof. The tearing is everywhere now. Mountains split with no sound. Clouds ripple like stones skipping over water. Volcanoes erupt sideways. Oceans hang in mid-air. You see a whale floating, suspended above the beach, turning slowly like a balloon. You see birds walking calmly along the sides of buildings, as if gravity forgot which way was down. The laws of physics are leaking. And in the sky, Mara is closer than ever. It now covers a third of the horizon, not with light, but with absence. It casts no glow. It has no edge. It is not black. It is darker than black, an emptiness that seems to suck color from the world. The plants know it. Leaves are paler now. Trees bend toward it, or away. Insects form strange spirals when they fly. Some flowers bloom at night. Others bloom only during the rift events. A new species of moss appears, growing only in places where time loops occur. It is luminous, blue. Some call it Mara's tears. It grows best on ruined walls, on cracks in the ground, on the sides of rift lines. It feeds on the strangeness. Some think it's trying to heal the earth. Others think it's a symptom, a marker that we're already past the point of return. And then there is the sound. At first, no one is sure it's real. A low hum, felt in the stomach more than the ears. Like standing next to a giant machine you can't see. It comes and goes. Some hear it at night. Others during rift events. Scientists believe it's Mara speaking, not in words, but in frequencies. Some say it's just the earth groaning under stress. Others say it's the sound of two realities rubbing together. You lie awake at night, listening to the hum, feeling it in your bones, in your teeth, in your thoughts. You look up at Mara. It does not blink. It does not move. But it is closer, and the world is no longer what it was. Earth is now a cracked mirror, reflecting something that was never supposed to be seen, and the cracks are still growing. Because next comes the unraveling. It doesn't start with a bang. It starts with a hole, a perfect circle, the size of a tennis ball, hanging in the air just above a small fishing village on the western coast of Norway. It doesn't move, doesn't pulse. It just is, black, empty, silent. A boy throws a rock into it. The rock doesn't fall. It doesn't bounce. It doesn't make a sound. It just vanishes. The boy laughs. Then he forgets his name. Across the world, other holes appear. Some are tiny. Others swallow entire hillsides. One opens in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, so deep that sonar stops working near it. Submarines refuse to approach. Cameras short out. Machines lose their coordinates. Some believe they are portals. Others believe they are wounds. They're not like the rift lines. They don't shear reality, they remove it. People start calling them unplaces, because what enters doesn't just disappear, it ceases to exist. Not even Mara's strange blue moss grows near them. Not even light behaves properly. Laser beams stop halfway through. Shadows fall in 3 directions. One scientist, a young woman from Tunisia, sends a drone into an unplace with a tether and a live video feed. The drone enters. The feed turns to static, but just before it does, the camera shows a moment of movement, like something saw the drone, and then nothing. The tether reels back in. There is no drone on the other end, and the tether is cut clean, as if sliced by something impossibly sharp or impossibly absent. The world tries to adapt. Again, people stop traveling. Cities become islands. Villages retreat into self-sufficient bubbles. Satellites fail one by one, either pulled into the unplaces or caught in gravitational folds from Mara. Weather becomes unpredictable. Some clouds hover for weeks. Others race by like film in fast forward. The sunlight changes, not the sun itself, but how it feels. It's too cold, then too hot. Sometimes it comes from the wrong angle. Shadows stretch long in the morning, then vanish at noon, then return sideways at dusk. In some parts of the world, the sky splits in two. A rift opens over Patagonia that reveals not blackness, but a copy of the Earth's sky, as if the world were being folded into itself. In Nigeria, a woman photographs her own home, but the reflection in her window shows a different version of her house. Older, abandoned, overgrown. And in the photo, there's a person standing in the doorway. She lives alone. These events gain a new name, the unraveling. It's no longer just gravitational pull, no longer just time distortion or space tears. Now, the structure of reality is beginning to fail. Some call it dimensional collapse. Others believe Mara is not a planet at all. They think it is a consciousness, not alive in the way we understand it, not thinking in linear thoughts or language, but aware, present, responding to observation. Some quantum physicists propose a terrifying theory, that Mara is an observer, and that the more we look at it, the more real it becomes. Not because it was coming anyway, but because our attention is pulling it closer. Because it is not just gravity that binds the universe, it is perception. And now the things we see are beginning to see us back. You lie in your bed under a sky that flickers. You feel time folding in strange ways. You dream of places you've never been, or maybe you've been there but forgot. Or maybe you haven't been yet. People stop using calendars. Days no longer behave. Instead, they mark time by events. The day of the frozen rain, the day all dogs barked at once, the night with 2 moons, the morning without color. These are memories that anchor people in something solid. Because memories are slipping. People recall things that never happened, or forget things they did just yesterday. You try to remember the alphabet. You can't remember if it had 26 letters, or 25, or maybe more. Some people begin to write in symbols, simple, repetitive, things they won't forget. Others speak only in songs, because melodies survive what words don't. And above it all, Mara keeps growing. Now it covers nearly half the sky. It doesn't emit light, but it reflects something. Not the sun, not the stars. It reflects dreams. People start seeing images inside Mara's void, not with telescopes, not with science, but with their minds. They close their eyes and dream of cities that float upside down, oceans that whisper, roads that lead in circles. And when they wake up, sometimes the world has changed to match. You begin to wonder, are we dreaming Mara into reality? Or is Mara dreaming us? You walk outside. The wind moves in squares now. A tree nearby blinks in and out of focus like a bad memory. A rock hums with a note you've never heard but somehow recognize. You look up at Mara, and now you're sure you see shapes moving inside it. Not stars, not ships, structures, towering, elegant, impossible, made of angles that shouldn't exist. You blink, they're gone. You blink again, they're closer. You're not sure if they're coming toward Earth, or if Earth is being pulled into them. And then you hear it again, that low hum. It's everywhere now, not outside, inside you. A vibration in your bones, a memory of a sound you haven't heard yet. And then comes a new word, whispered by people across the globe at the same time, though no one knows who said it first. The descent. They say it's next. No one knows what it means, but you feel it coming, and it's already too late. The word spreads like wildfire across the drifting remnants of humanity. The descent. No sirens, no alerts, no world leaders explaining what it means. And yet, everyone knows. They feel it in their chest, like a countdown with no clock. A drop in pressure, not in the air, but in reality itself. Some whisper that the descent will be the end. Others say it will be the beginning. But most don't say anything at all, because every time someone tries to speak about it, really speak about it, something strange happens. Their voice distorts. Not like a microphone glitch, but like their words are being heard from underwater or through a tunnel that bends time. The descent becomes a silent agreement, an understanding written into the skin, the bones, the breath of every living thing. Birds begin flying in perfect circles for hours, then fall from the sky, not dead, but asleep. Mountains start humming in frequencies that heal wounds but erase memories. And in the vast, shifting sea beneath the now nightmare sky, whales gather by the thousands, swimming upward, toward nothing. Boats no longer sail, planes no longer fly. The last messages from space probes come in as single words. Descending. Below. Listen. Awake. And then, silence. Mara no longer looms in the sky. It is the sky. It stretches from horizon to horizon. A sphere so vast and black it seems to wrap around the earth like a cocoon. But the stars beyond it aren't gone. They just look wrong. They pulse to some rhythm you can't measure. They move slightly, like they're breathing. And then something else begins. The tilt. People wake up one morning and everything is slightly askew. Not physically. Houses are upright, glasses don't tip over, but your balance is off. Like gravity has turned its head ever so slightly. You lean left when you walk. Fluids spiral the wrong way in sinks. Compass needles drift like dancers with no partner. Time begins to melt. Clocks refuse to stay in sync. Digital watches blink numbers like code. Shadows no longer follow the sun. They follow sounds. Sometimes your own. The descent isn't a single moment. It's a series of quiet collapses. One by one, the laws of nature begin to apologize and slip out the back door. Rain falls upward in Indonesia. In Brazil, a woman dreams she's a tree and wakes up with roots. In Antarctica, a research station reports snow that tastes like languages they've never heard. In India, a village wakes to find half the people missing, and no one remembers who they were. And then comes the second moon. It appears without warning. Pale blue, smaller, but impossibly close. It doesn't orbit, it hovers, like it's watching. No astronomer can explain it. No telescope can capture it. But every child can draw it perfectly, as if they've seen it their whole life. And when you look at the second moon, you feel it looking back, not just at you, into you. You begin to remember things that never happened. You recall lives you've never lived. You're standing in a desert. You're a creature made of feathers and stone. You're speaking to beings whose names are entire songs. You're floating in a tunnel of mirrors made of time. You're the architect of a world that has never existed. You blink. You're back in your room. But the walls are breathing. The air shimmers like heat, though it's cold. You look in the mirror, and for a moment, you don't recognize your own face. The descent isn't just outside. It's internal. People change. Some grow transparent. Others become impossibly dense. Their footsteps leave small craters. A man in Ghana reports he can now hear what light sounds like. A woman in Canada tastes words before she speaks them. Children begin speaking languages no one has taught them, describing cities of glass, birds made of memory, rivers that flow through dreams. They call these places below. They say we're going there, not all at once, but piece by piece. And Mara is the door. The descent, they say, is not a fall. It's a surrender. We've spent centuries building up into space, up into knowledge, up into control. But Mara asks us to do something else, to go down, not in shame, not in failure, but in acceptance. To descend isn't to end, it is to become. The stars, the whales, the symbols in the sky, the strange music in the soil, all of it pointing to one truth. We were never meant to remain. We are not the final version of ourselves. We are seedlings, and seeds must fall before they bloom. You close your eyes, you breathe in, and the breath feels like it comes from below the earth, deep, ancient, familiar, like someone, something is breathing with you, together, in time. And you understand now, the descent is not the end of the story. It's the first word of a new language. You step outside. The sky no longer scares you. You are no longer afraid of the dark, because you know at last, it was never empty. It was waiting, just like you. It begins with a sound, but not one you hear with your ears. It's deeper, like a note felt in the spine or a vibration curling around your heart. Some call it humming. Others say it's music. The oldest among us, those with fading eyes and hands that remember, simply call it home. Across the planet, people wake with strange sentences tattooed across their dreams. Not in letters, not in symbols, but in meaning. They can't be written down. They can't be spoken aloud. But you know what they mean. It's like remembering the shape of wind, or the way your mother once said your name when you were small and afraid. This is the beginning of the new language. It doesn't belong to any country or people. It rises through us like trees growing inside our bones. It connects, not just minds, but everything. The soil begins to respond to our emotions. You kneel near a plant, and its leaves bend toward you, sensing your grief. A river changes course, slightly, as if it feels where it is most needed. The sky flickers with soft, faint patterns that seem to match the collective breath of the world. Every heartbeat is a syllable, every tear, a word, every shared silence, a sentence, and slowly, the walls between human and world begin to melt. You don't just understand animals, you feel what it's like to be them. You don't just look at a mountain, you remember building it. It's not magic, it's not science, it's something older, something we forgot. Mara is not speaking to us in noise or light, but in remembrance. It reminds you of the time before time, of a voice you never knew you missed. And that voice says, you are not separate. It says, you are not late. It says, you are home. And that's when something new happens. All over Earth, structures begin to grow, not built, but grown. Vast crystalline towers that rise silently from deserts, floating platforms that drift above oceans, forests where every leaf glows with a low golden light. People don't understand them, but they recognize them. Like something out of a dream they all shared as children but forgot after waking up. These places aren't cities, they're not buildings. They are interfaces, bridges between this world and below. Those who enter them report visions. Some see themselves as animals, others see themselves as stars. One man enters and emerges weeping, saying only, I remember what I was before I became this. And still, the new language grows. It doesn't need schools. It doesn't need teaching. It spreads like laughter, like yawns, like the instinct to hold someone's hand when they're afraid. And as the new language spreads, conflict begins to disappear. Not because we suddenly agree on everything, but because we no longer fear disagreement. You understand that another's truth doesn't erase yours, that to listen is to love, that the space between two people is not a wall, it's a mirror. And slowly, people stop arguing about borders and start planting gardens where walls once stood. They stop chasing answers and start asking better questions, like, what if the earth is dreaming through us? What if every shadow is a doorway? What if the universe is not expanding, but exhaling? You walk through the world and it responds, not just with sights and sounds, but with feeling. A storm passes over your head, and you taste its sorrow. You enter a room, and the floor hums to match your mood. You speak without words, and others hear you, clearly, beautifully, without confusion. This is the new language. It does not need alphabets. It needs presence. And then, one morning, it happens. Mara speaks, not in thunder, not in speech, but in every voice at once. Birdsong turns into poetry. Wind becomes a lullaby. Children begin to sing a tune no one taught them, but everyone knows. And the stars, above Mara's great eye, blink in rhythm. They blink in yes. And from beneath the earth, from the old places, volcanoes, fault lines, sacred caves, comes the final verse of the new language. Light. Not ordinary light. This one bends. It dances. It reaches out like fingers through time. It touches every person on earth. And when it does, you remember everything. Every version of yourself. Every life you've lived. Every atom you've been. You see that you were once stardust, and you will be again. You see that the universe didn't create you. You created it simply by being here to witness it. And the voice returns. The descent was your opening. The language is your awakening. Now you are ready to arrive. You ask, arrive where? And the stars whisper, here, fully. You look around. Nothing is different, and yet everything is. The same trees, the same streets, the same sky. But now they are alive with you, not just around you. You are not a visitor to Earth. You are its voice. The new language isn't something you speak, it's something you become. And now that you are it, the door begins to open, and what lies beyond is not terrifying. It is you. But more, always becoming. At first, the door is not a door. It's a shimmer, a soft fold in the air. It appears in many places, over a quiet hilltop in Ethiopia, beneath a subway tunnel in Tokyo, hovering above a child's sandbox in Argentina. It doesn't force attention. It waits. Still. Patient. Like it knows something you forgot. You don't walk toward it. You simply find yourself near it, drawn not by curiosity, but by a kind of remembering. And when you finally reach out, you don't touch it with your hand. You touch it with your awareness, like blinking with your soul. And then it opens, but not outwards. It opens inward, not into a place, but into a feeling. Imagine stepping through a memory, only to realize you're stepping into a version of yourself that had been waiting to be lived. No sound, no flash, just stillness. And then, suddenly, you are somewhere else. But somewhere isn't quite right, because this new space, this space beyond the door, it isn't a destination. It's you unfolded. In this space, time does not move forward. It dances in spirals. It weaves around your thoughts like ribbons of possibility. You see every version of yourself. The child who never stopped drawing. The parent you could have become. The friend you might have been to someone you never met. They are all here, not as regrets, but as living echoes. And each one looks at you with love, because you made it. You chose to open the door. You chose to arrive. Then you hear it. Not a voice, not even a word, but a welcoming. like a room saying, "We've been waiting," like the universe saying, "Come in." And so you step deeper. Your body doesn't follow, because in this space, you're not made of skin or cells. You are made of story. You are made of intent. You are made of every breath you've ever taken and every breath you will take, existing all at once. It should be overwhelming, but it's not. It's peace. Not the peace of silence, the peace of knowing that everything is exactly as it should be, even the mistakes, even the detours. You were never lost. You were just learning the shape of your own return. And then, something appears in front of you, a figure, but not like you expect. It is not human, not alien. It is something else, something between. Its form shifts gently, as if sculpted by your thoughts. It wears a face you can trust. Maybe it looks like your mother when she laughed. Maybe it looks like the first person who ever truly saw you. Or maybe it just looks like light wrapped in memory. And it speaks without a mouth, without sound. It says, "This is your inheritance." You don't ask what this is, because you already know. It is the ability to feel the entire universe inside yourself, to carry galaxies in your chest, to bend time with a whisper, to plant kindness like seeds that bloom across dimensions. The figure gestures towards something behind you. You turn, and there it is, Earth. But not the Earth you left. This one is brighter, more vivid, more awake. You realize this is the Earth as it could be, as it wants to be, as you dreamed it could become. And suddenly you understand the door wasn't an exit, it was a mirror. Everything you saw, everything you felt, was a reflection of the potential you've always had to create, to connect, to remember. And now the figure says one final thing: return. You blink, and you are back. Back in your body, back in your room, back in the world. But nothing is the same, because now you see the shimmer everywhere, in the eyes of strangers, in the rustle of leaves, in the pause between thoughts. You see that every moment is a door, every breath is a choice, and every heart is a planet waiting to be explored. You don't need to go beyond anymore, because the beyond is now within you, and you are no longer just a witness. You are a weaver of the future, one thread of many, but necessary, beautiful, ready. The door opened, and you became the key. It doesn't come with a warning. It doesn't come with drums or storms or the creak of time folding in on itself. It comes like breath after crying, like dusk after fire. It comes like silence, not as an absence of sound, but as the presence of something larger than sound could carry. At first, the world thinks it's a glitch. Scientists at the last observatory send out confused signals. The noise has stopped. The cosmic background radiation, flickering for 13 billion years, has gone. Still, no more echoes from the Big Bang, no more whispers between galaxies. Just hush. The kind that settles on a room after a truth is spoken. The kind that listens back. Then the birds stop singing, not out of fear, but out of recognition. They tilt their heads, as if hearing something we cannot, not danger, not chaos, just something final, not the end of time, but the arrival of a moment so complete that nothing more needs to be said, not even by the stars. You stand outside now, looking up. The sky has changed. It still holds the moon, still carries the shimmer of cities floating in orbit, still wraps itself around the cold edges of what once was the Milky Way. But now the stars blink slower, like they're bowing, like they know the curtain is falling, not in despair, but in reverence. Because everything that had to happen has happened. You breathe in, and the air tastes familiar, like your grandmother's hands, like laughter from years ago, like the scent of the first book you ever read beneath a blanket of curiosity. And then you hear it. Or maybe you don't. Maybe it's something between hearing and feeling. Maybe it's the sound of time itself smiling. Maybe it's the universe finally saying, "Thank you. That will be all." You sit down, not because you're tired, but because sitting feels like the right thing to do when all the pieces have clicked into place. When the puzzle is no longer a puzzle, just a picture of everything that ever was and everything that ever could be. In the distance, mountains lean in, rivers curl inward, skies turn soft as silk. Even pain, the faithful shadow, lays down beside you, not to haunt, but to rest. You stroke it like a sleeping cat. It purrs, because it too has been seen. This is not the end, not exactly. This is the folding in, like a storyteller closing their book. Not because the tale is over, but because it has been fully told. This is the long exhale, the whisper at the end of the prayer, the soft click of a universe returning its pen to the desk. And in that final stillness, you feel it, the shape of everything, not as a map, not as coordinates, but as warmth, as meaning, as a silence so deep, it doesn't erase the noise, it honors it. The universe doesn't explode, it doesn't collapse, it doesn't scream, it just stops, like a song fading out, note by note, until only the listener remains. You, still, quiet, whole, a soul-shaped echo in a universe that finally, mercifully, rests. Imagine the entire history of Earth, the rise of trees, the first fish who dared to breathe, your grandmother's humming voice, every kiss and war and lullaby, all reduced into something smaller than an atom. That's not poetry, that's physics. When Earth crosses the event horizon, it does not vanish. It does not burn, scream, or even fall apart. At least, not in the way your senses understand destruction. Instead, Earth becomes information. To a black hole, mass is a whisper, shape is irrelevant, texture, forgotten. It does not care whether a planet was once blue and green, or whether it wrote sonnets and sang lullabies. All it records is the ledger, a cosmic tally of everything Earth ever was. Mass, spin, charge. That's all that survives. All that can legally remain, according to the universe's deepest laws. Even Stephen Hawking said, black holes ain't so black, because at their very edges, they glow. And that glow is truth leaking out. The Earth enters not with a bang, but with a surrender. A soft folding in of matter and memory pressed flat across the black hole's surface, the event horizon. It's like a cosmic receipt. Some scientists call it the holographic principle. All the information that once made up Earth, every particle, every photon, every birthday wish, gets smeared across the black hole's skin like ink on paper. Forever unseeable from within, forever visible, mathematically, from the outside. And in that moment, a new singularity is born, not a copy, not a replacement, a continuation. The black hole shifts its mass, just slightly, barely, but enough, because now it includes Earth. Earth is part of it, the way a drop becomes ocean, and the universe adjusts. Stars realign, wormholes ripple, gravity shudders in distant galaxies, tiny flutters that whisper, something has changed. Inside, the singularity doesn't care about time. It doesn't tick, It doesn't wait. It just is. A point of infinite density where up, down, before, and after no longer mean anything. Some say that inside a black hole, time ends. Others say time begins again. So, maybe Earth isn't dead. Maybe it's seeded. Maybe that singularity is a womb. A quiet, dense idea, waiting, becoming. And one day perhaps it explodes, not with death, but with birth. A new universe, with new stars, new atoms, new rules, and maybe, just maybe, a planet like Earth, where creatures build cities and sing songs and wonder, what happens if we disappear into a black hole? Let's say you were listening closely, closer than any machine, any telescope, any human ever could. You're not just hearing waves, you're listening to echoes. Because somewhere out there, past the final flare of a dying galaxy, something is whispering back. They aren't words in any language we know. They don't rhyme, they don't shout, they don't even have a sound in the traditional sense. But they carry meaning, the kind of meaning you feel in your chest before your brain catches up. Like when someone you love says nothing, but you know exactly what they mean. That's what these echoes are like. The universe never forgets. Even after stars die, planets freeze, and space stretches thinner than thought, something remains. Physicists call it quantum information, the ghost of every interaction, every flicker of heat, every tick of time. Nothing is truly erased. It just becomes subtle, encoded, hidden in the jitter of a particle, in the spin of a photon that's been traveling for 10 billion years. And sometimes, just sometimes, that information ripples out, like a memory trying to find its way home. Imagine this: a single neutrino, smaller than small, born in a star that collapsed before Earth even had oceans, suddenly shifts its spin. Not randomly, not chaotically, but deliberately, as if it remembers, as if it's answering something. And in a lab on the edge of an old moon, a machine records the blip, thinking it's just noise. But it isn't noise. It's a reply. What if black holes don't swallow stories? What if they send them forward? Not like a bottle in the sea, but like a seed in the soil. Time loops, dimensions fold, and echoes carry the blueprint of what came before. So somewhere, far beyond reach, in a universe not yet born, or already born but running backward, Earth's memory blooms. Maybe that's the universe's version of reincarnation. Not spirits, but patterns. Ideas that echo across eternity until they find new homes. A tree, a galaxy, a thought inside someone's mind on a planet we'll never see. And maybe, just maybe, they'll build machines too. Look up and listen and hear us. Because echoes don't need words. They don't need light or matter. They just need presence, a kind of gravity made of meaning. The universe listens. The universe remembers. And sometimes, when it's quiet enough, it answers. Picture this. Everything is gone. The stars, burned out, the galaxies, drifted apart like old friends who stopped calling. Even the black holes have evaporated, puffed into nothing over trillions upon trillions of years. Space is dark now. Not night dark, but final dark. There's no light left to bounce off anything. No warmth, no sound, just cold silence. And yet, something is still watching. We call it the last observer. Not a person, not a machine exactly. More like an awareness, a presence. Like the universe itself has grown eyes. Not eyes that see color or shape, but eyes that understand structure. The subtle dance of probabilities still unfolding in the emptiness. It doesn't need planets or atoms or time. It just needs change. Because even now, after everything, the universe isn't done. It's still computing, still calculating, still running the program that began the day it exploded into being. This observer doesn't blink. It doesn't age. It doesn't hope or feel lonely or mourn what came before. It simply knows. Knows that once there were stars. Knows that somewhere, long ago, a species called humans built telescopes and sang to each other under skies full of constellations. Knows that one of them, a person with soft eyes and big questions, once asked, "Will we be remembered?" Yes, because the universe doesn't forget. Not really. It stores everything, in entropy, in background radiation, in the angles of the expanding void. You see, even in this final moment, the last observer still sees patterns, still finds echoes, the way ripples on a still pond remember the stone that caused them. And here's the strange part. This observer is you. Or at least, it could be. Because at the end of all things, consciousness doesn't vanish. It transforms. Time collapses. Meaning unravels. But awareness lingers. Not as a soul floating through space, but as perspective. A quiet, infinite gaze holding the memory of everything. The last observer does not cry. It does not laugh. It simply witnesses. It is the ultimate audience. The last you left in the cosmos, holding the story of everything that ever was. So what is it waiting for? Maybe nothing. Maybe it's just doing what observers do, watching, learning, letting the story end properly. Or maybe, just maybe, it's waiting for the next beginning. Because even now, even here, the math still works. Quantum fields still simmer. And hidden in the blankness, the rules for making a new universe still hum softly, patiently, like a lullaby in reverse. And when the time is right, when silence has stretched long enough, when possibility and probability twist into a perfect point, a new spark might flicker, a new Big Bang might rise, and the last observer, it will see, and maybe, just maybe, it will remember us. So now, just breathe. You've walked with galaxies. You've watched stars bloom and fade. You've floated through ancient light and fallen into the hush of black holes. You've listened to the quiet ticking of time, and you've stood beside the last observer at the edge of everything. And yet, here you are, safe, still, softly breathing beneath a sky that's always been watching back. The universe is vast, yes, but you don't need to hold all of it. You don't need to solve it or carry it or understand every secret. It's enough to be part of it, to be a note in its long, slow song, to be a spark in the dark that says, "I was here." That's all the universe ever asked of you. So now, close your eyes gently. Let go of the stars. Let them drift where they need to go. They'll remember you. They always do. And while they hum their ancient lullabies, let your breath grow slower, softer, lighter. You're not falling asleep. You're floating, resting in the arms of space itself. And in the morning, when you wake, the universe will still be here, quiet, beautiful, and patiently waiting for your next dream. Good night, traveler.